Hello to all our beautiful and wonderful friends. We are so glad you are here. So last meeting, we talked a little bit about what platform is and is not for writers. And probably our key most important points are, number one, don't spend all your time on social media. Like set a timer, do some specific tasks in a specific amount of time. The other thing is writers do not need to be influencers. We do not need 10,000 fans. We need about 1,000 really engaged people who are interested in what we personally have to say and what we are all about. And social media is only one part of our platform. Our platform also includes newsletters. It includes email lists. It includes our website. It includes blogs. It includes writing articles and essays. It includes being a public speaker, and it even includes meeting people in person, because I got to tell you, one Aunt Tilly who makes everyone in her church buy your book is more valuable than 10,000 Instagram followers, because nothing beats the personal touch. Tonight, we are going to talk about a couple of different things. And before we dive into how to use Twitter lists, what the heck are Instagram analytics? Does your Instagram need to look pretty? And is your Facebook author page a colossal waste of time or merely pointless? We're going to just take a quick moment and introduce ourselves. So Ashley, you want to go?
Hi everybody. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you again. I know a lot of you from Facebook, from our writers groups there, and there are some new faces too. So thank you for sharing with your friends. So I'm a writer with a book and with very little platform. My agent signed me based on my memoir alone. And it's pretty certain that even though I don't have a large platform, only about 2,000 followers on Instagram, almost nobody on Twitter, because I'm very boring there, that publishers are still going to bite. So we shall see if that happens. I wrote a book about how, as a perfectionist mom coming from figure skating, I took doing it all to the next level when my husband and I became the world's worst attempted swingers. Now, it sounds like the book would be salacious, and I promise there are a few sexy parts, but really the most taboo part is me speaking the truth about how I feel being a wife and a mother in the world, especially how easy it is to feel so sad even when you live in a life that looks lovely. And that's what my audience really connects with when I'm sharing bits of my story on social media.
So I have exactly the opposite story from Ashley, which is that I got my agent based on my query and platform alone. I had written a proposal, but I didn't realize that my agent had not actually read my proposal until we started working on it to send it out to publishers. My book is called 7 Drafts, Self-Edit Like a Pro from Blank Page to Book, and I'm actually finishing writing it this week. It's due to the publisher at the end of the month. And so I think we're a really good mix of the two different reasons why a writer might want to have platform. You might want to have platform to establish yourself as an expert in something in particular that you can then write a book about, or you might want to build platform so that by the time your book gets sold to publishers and by the time it comes out, you know how to reach the reader who needs your book. So if you are writing about being a perfectionist swinger, the other supermoms already know you exist. They already like what you have to say, and they are people who are going to advocate for you when your book comes out. They're the people who are going to help hand sell your book to other people. So tonight we're going to cover a couple of different tools. Remember, you don't have to use all the tools. It's probably better if you pick one tool that sounds interesting to try and just use that one. The other thing is we're going to cover a lot of information, but you are going to get a link to a recording of this video. So feel free to watch the video again, or maybe just listen to it while you're doing the dishes or folding laundry or something, so that you can really get all of the information. So let's talk about how to find your readers, because I think one of the biggest things about platform for writers is we tend to connect with other writers who will be our advocates, but who are not necessarily our readers.
Absolutely. And when we're tapping our writer friends constantly for feedback on a pitch that we've written or to promote pre-sales for our book, it can be tiring because they're trying to do the same things for themselves. So connecting with other writers is essential. And, you know, for everyone here. I'm sure that you understand, like, you know, you feel the support you have from other writers. But really finding your own superfans is the key. And, you know, we all hear about comp titles or comparison titles, comparison authors. And I would invite you guys to consider that just as it's essential to have comparison titles when you're querying or pitching your book, you need to understand who your comparison or comp accounts are on social media when you are trying to expand that part of your platform.
And one of the techniques that we both find really effective is when you follow accounts of people who are writing the same kind of stuff you are, but farther along. So if you are writing literary personal essays, you might want to follow Esme Wei-Jen Wang. If you are writing funny personal essays, you might want to follow Kristen Arnett. If you are writing serious, quiet memoir, you might want to follow Dani Shapiro. And engaging with the other people who comment on those people's tweets and Instagram posts and blogs is a really great way to meet other people who would like to read what you are writing. And when you start bonding with them in comments, when you're talking about stuff that is not your book, not even about writing, when it's like, oh, hey, you know, Dani posted this great post about she's starting a new podcast where she's interviewing people about their life during quarantine. And isn't that fascinating? And I listened to this episode and you liked that episode. And suddenly you're having a conversation that is not driven by the need to sell them your book or count them up as a number. You're making a genuine connection with somebody who you have something in common with. And it feels a lot more real and authentic for us as writers to have those kind of casual interactions.
And I think what you'll find, or what you maybe have found, is those are the kind of interactions you make in real life. And we want to demystify social media and the interaction there a little bit so it feels more authentic. It feels more like how you would support people or engage with people in your actual life face-to-face.
Exactly. So one of the things that we got as a question quite a bit is, should you have both personal and professional social media, and or should you have an account for your novel writing and an account for your memoir writing if you're writing in more than one genre? The answer is no. It's too much time. It's too much energy. You don't want to spend all your time on social media. You have books to write. You have articles to write. You have essays to pitch to people. It is much, much easier to just go ahead and decide, here is my online presence. This is how personal I am willing to get. If it is more personal than that, I will send it in a mass email to my family, and then my mother can look at the pictures of my children in her inbox instead of on my Instagram. It is very rarely worthwhile to maintain both a public presence and a private presence because they both get very demanding. And part of it is that the people who want to know you, the people who want to eventually buy your book and read your book, they want to know you. And that's how super fans bond with us, is they get to know us as human beings and as people. In a minute, I'm going to screen share because we're going to talk about some Twitter stuff. But at the beginning of that, I'll show you a couple of Instagram accounts from novelists to kind of get a sense of, well, what are fiction writers putting on there? With memoirists, it's a little bit easier because we can write about our lives. We can talk about incidents that form part of our memoir. We can talk about, the themes in our memoir. With a novelist, you have to get a little bit more creative. You talk about your research, or you talk about this cool place you went, and it's more a case of getting people to like you and enjoy being around you.
Excellent, thanks, Allison. And I have 3 little kids, and a lot of things I write about have to do with my family, but there are certain things that I don't put on there specifically for safety. I never mention the town we live in. I never show pictures of our house from the street so people would be able to see it around. I never tag our location when we're somewhere. The only time I would tag a location is if we are on vacation somewhere, and I wouldn't put a particular landmark while we're still there. So there are ways that you can keep things. You can let your readers feel like
maintain your privacy.
Right. Maintain right. That's where I set the line. And my kids have always been okay with me posting things. But my oldest turns 13 this week, and he had a little bit of grumbling about whether or not I was going to do a birthday post. So there may not be a birthday post. So just, you just have to have your lines. And then
like I put locations on all of my posts because it's a thing that helps them get discovered and seen, but I very rarely post when I'm still in the location. I almost always post later. And to be honest, the vast majority of us are not important enough to get stalked, but we want to plan for that day when our book is going to be a giant bestseller and we're going to be massively famous and people are creeping back through our Instagram from years and years ago. So it is good to just go ahead and decide what's public, what's private. I also want to say, we talked a lot last week about it's important to do the part of platform that you like, the stuff that's fun for you. And I actually talked with Signe in Norway last week. We had just like a little consultation time on her personal social media and platform. And what we discovered was that what Signe was already getting her most traffic from was a blog where she was writing about another poet's work. It was sort of a review of the book and sort of her engaging with the book and sort of a personal essay. And she was getting a lot of traffic to that blog post because people were searching for the poet who was more famous than she was. And Signe likes writing blogs about poets. And so for her to actively choose, oh, hey, I will write some more review / essay / engaging with somebody else's work of people who are more famous than me and likely to get Google searched more than I am. And then the key is, when you have something like that that is drawing people in for a reason other than you, make sure there's a way to contact you all the time. So every blog post should have at the bottom, wouldn't you like to join my newsletter? Click this link. Or wouldn't you like to follow me on Instagram? Click this link. Do you want to add anything more to that, Ashley?
I think that that's a really good way to do it because we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, social media changes really quickly, but there are already people out there consuming the kind of content that we want to make. And that is fun for us to create and post. So finding those comp accounts really is worth your time, and you don't need a lot. You need 3, maybe 5 people who you follow on social media. You could even turn on notifications for their account so you see what kinds of things that they're posting and how their audience is interacting with them. Not to copy, but just to get some confirmation that people will want to interact and read the kind of stuff that you want to share as well.
So Terry has a really great question. She asks, she started on Instagram after our last platform chat. It was going great. Then I started getting all these ads and posts of people and ads that I'm not following. Is there a way to clean up my feed so that I can see more of the people I want to follow? And Elizabeth DeWolf adds, I'm getting followers who seem to be single men looking for a date. So those dudes, whenever you get a dude who like only has 3 or 4 pictures and his pictures are like him with a dog or him in a military outfit or him with a couple of cute children, that is a fake account. It is somebody who is probably a Nigerian scammer, not to stereotype Nigerians, but there is a thriving internet scam industry in Nigeria. And they are copying other people's photos and making fake accounts. You can either block them or just not respond to them and delete their responses unread. It's not a huge big deal. They can't do anything to you unless you start a conversation and agree to send them money. But other than that, there's really nothing they can do. And if you're not biting at the hook, they're going to get bored and go away. And usually Instagram will delete their accounts within a couple of days anyway. While we're on Instagram, though, I just want to run you guys through a couple of novelist accounts because a lot of our stuff is geared towards memoir because memoir is really easy. We get to share ourselves as human beings. Here we have Liza Nash Taylor, who needs to put some periods or something in her username so that we can pronounce it. No disrespect to Liza intended. So she's writing a jazz age novel that is out from Blackstone Publishing. And she's doing stuff that supports that novel. So this one here, this is a picture of her grandmother who inspired a person in her novel. And she talks a little bit about that. This is a picture of some fabric that she discovered in her research. Over here on the right is a black and white picture of an antique vintage country market in the UK that was a setting for something that she was doing. So she's combining, oh, hey, look, I'm on a podcast, with, I saw this cool statue and it inspired me to write something for my book, with here are some things directly related to the time period of my book. So you can see that there are elements that a novelist can put in there that still make a pretty photo and make something interesting to look at, but that are also drawing people gradually into her book. And then we go to Leigh Bardugo, and Leigh Bardugo wrote a very popular young adult fantasy novel called Six of Crows. And I have actually scrolled back to about 6 years ago in Leigh's feed, because this is before she became a little bit famous in the YA world. So this is what she was posting when she was still building her platform. And it's stuff like, oh, hey, I got a pretty pedicure and I was in this crazy location that has these things in the pavement. Oh, look, I ate this charming meal that was arranged in a really nicely plated way. Oh, look, I looked out my window and I saw this view. So it's not necessarily reflective of her actual book, but it is reflective of her. And as you can see from the photo of her nails with the skull art on them, she's also establishing, I am the kind of person who wears nails with skulls on them. And so the work that I am doing is going to be appreciated by people who have nails with skulls on them, if that makes sense. Ashley, do you want to add anything in there?
I think that that is such a great example of how you can share sort of where you are in the creative process without actually putting excerpts from your book on here, or sharing things that may change or may contractually you may not be allowed to share yet.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little detour into Twitter now. And what I want to show you guys is the concept of the Twitter list. So one of the things you probably know is it looks better if you have a good ratio. And what a good ratio means is more people are following you than you are following. Now, for anybody who's currently under about 3,000 or 4,000 followers, don't even worry about it. This is just something you're going to gradually build towards. But if you are starting to get up into the high 4 figures, low 5 figures of followers, that's the time to start culling your feed, not to be mean or snobbish or anything like that, but because you can't genuinely engage with more than a couple thousand people. And if you want to be able to have those genuine connections that do you some good in the future, you need to be able to engage with people on a fairly regular basis. So one of the things that you can do is you can use Twitter lists. So when I click on this little thing that looks like a notepad in my home feed, I get a set of lists. And what these lists are is they are a bunch of people whose information I want to read, and I want to be able to look at them, but I don't want to follow them because they're probably not going to follow me back. So for example, there are not a ton of literary agents who follow back everybody, but I really want to know what literary agents are talking about. And I have this list that has 958 literary agents on it that I have painstakingly gathered over the past few years. And I can read through and go, okay, this is what Steve Silberman cares about today. This is what Jennifer Lauren cares about today. This is what Janklow and Nesbitt cares about today. Oh, look, one of their authors just put a book out and this is what it's like. And then I can look and go, oh, does that have anything to do with the kind of book that I am writing? So this one is The Sprawl, Reconsidering the Weird American Suburbs. So Ashley's probably going to want to look that book up because that sounds like it might be a comp for Ashley. So this helps you keep an eye on what's going on with the people who you're interested in without having them screw up your ratio numbers and without feeling like, oh, hey, I'm following all these people and none of them are following me back. So to build a list, what you do is you go into that list thing, and then you go up to the top here where it has the add a new list function. You're going to add a new list. You can name it whatever you like. You can describe it whatever you like, and you can either make it public or private, whichever you prefer. Then every time you click through and see somebody, you can choose to add them to a list. So I'm looking at Dustin M. Hoffman here, no relation, and I'm going to go to these 3 little dots, and I can add or remove Dustin from lists. So I'm going to click add remove from lists. I'm going to pick a list. I'm going to put him on magazine editors. Why not? And then I will save him, and then he will be on the list and I can reach him there.
Just wondering if there are any kind of cheats for doing it in a time efficient manner, and if you can do it on mobile as well. I don't see the note
You can absolutely do this on mobile. And then the other thing is, I want to show you guys something about how to find more good people to follow. So one of the things that I like to do is, instead of just following people when they pop up in my notifications, I actually go to them to follow them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a member of my agent list who I am not already following. Let's go with this junior literary agent at Metamorphosis Literary. So instead of just clicking follow back if she's followed me, or instead of just clicking follow and go away, I'm going to click follow and I'm going to wait a couple minutes. And then Twitter is going to pop up more suggestions for me. So I'm going to click through and see, who is this Shanna person? Oh, look, she's another literary agent. Is she on my list? Let's find out. She is not. So I'm going to add her to the agents list. Now my list has 959. And then I'm going to click follow her.
Allison, we have a question about that. So question? if you add Shannon to a list, does she get any kind of notification that she's on your list?
She does, which is why you should name your list something flattering, like awesome literary agents or writers I think are cool, rather than people I don't want to follow because they'll screw up my ratio.
Okay.
You can also make a list private, and when you make a list private, they don't get a notification.
Okay, that's a good designation. So if you keep your lists private, other people won't know you have the list, and people will not get notifications if they are added to your list.
That said, for other writers, if you do add them to your list and you let them know, and your list says something cool like writers I want to get to know or something like that, their chances of following you are higher because they know that you're actually interested in them and they know why you're interested in them. So they go, oh, this person added me to a writer list. They are also a writer.
Okay.
So I can spend like 15, 20 minutes just clicking through to people and going through to the next set of suggestions. And then I use the back button to go back and follow more people after that.
And do you guys see here, if Allison were to just go follow, follow, follow for all of these suggested people, she wouldn't get even more personalized recommendations for who she should follow. It's like when you're shopping on Amazon or Zappos for clothing, and if you look at things, they're going to suggest, the more you click through, the better ideas they're going to get about your preferences. So Allison, just clicking like that, you'll be following them, but you won't have those new suggested people come up.
Right. Whereas if I click through to LC Ryan, I'm gonna like hopefully not drive this person crazy. Now, if I click following this person, Twitter now pops up with suggestions, and I can click through and find out if those are people I would like to follow too. So one of the things that we're going to offer you guys, because you cared enough to show up for tonight's call, and we really appreciate it, I am going to take my agent list, and at the end of this call, I am going to unprivate my agent list for 48 hours. And so you can go through my agent list. You can follow all of the agents who you want to follow. I would suggest go ahead and follow all 958 of them, 959. Put them on a list, and then see who you want to keep following and who you just want to have on the list, and you'll look at their stuff from the list. I did go through the list the other day, so it is still a list of actual practicing literary agents, but this is not me vouching for how good they are or whether they represent your stuff. It's just a place for you to get started so that you have that stream of information, so that Twitter is a place that you can go and find stuff out, instead of, what do I do? Why am I here? I don't get it. I don't like it. Nobody talks to me. So, yeah.
We have a feed question, Allison, that I'm going to guess on the answer here, but because I am just a Twitter rookie, someone said that a lot of their feed is tweets that are liked by people they follow, but not actually original content. Would that just indicate that the people they follow maybe are not tweeting a lot of their own content?
Yeah, it pretty much means the people you follow are retweeting instead of like originally tweeting. If you like their stuff, great, and maybe click through and follow the people that they're retweeting. If you don't like their stuff, like for example, I very rarely follow anybody who posts a lot of book ads. And in fact, if I see like 3 book ads in a row from the same person, I click through to their profile, and if it's all book ads, I unfollow them. Or if there's someone I've met in person and I care about, I hit mute, because I don't want my feed full of commercials. I want to get to know them as a person.
Mhm. And I have a question here about, should we unfollow those who don't follow back? That's always a personal decision on every social media feed. Um, are you genuinely interested in their content? Do you think you're going to be getting some value out of their content, or are you just hoping for the follow back? If you're just hoping for the follow back and they don't reciprocate, then you can unfollow them. It's okay. You don't have to keep following people as a favor. If it's somebody who you actually get value from, interact with their content. Interact with their content, support them, because there'll be a lot of people who don't follow back for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't notice your follow, maybe they don't look at their lists very much. Maybe they're really, really strict about their ratio, but always assume that it's not something personal. And then when you make that connection with the person in the future, you're not going to be as bitter about it.
So I want to show you one more thing in our Twitter time here, and then we're going to move on to Ashley and some fabulous Instagram information. This is a tool called Tweepi. I use a paid version. There is also a free version that does almost as much stuff. And if you want to easily look and find out who's not following you, you can go to Tweepi. So I type in my handle. Tweepi has access to my Twitter, but they don't post things to my Tweepi. I believe the free version wants to post stuff to your Twitter where it says, you know, Allison, just use Tweepi to unfollow 6 people. If it makes you do that, get the free benefit, but then go over to your feed and delete that tweet because it looks kind of cheesy. What I can do here with Tweepi is I can find out who has not followed me back. And I can look and go, okay, am I really interested or am I not? So for example here, this Jackson Free Press, I followed it on purpose so that I would have somebody to unfollow to demonstrate to you guys. I don't really need the news from Mississippi, as lovely and wonderful as Mississippi is, so I can just hit unfollow. And oh look, it pops down to the next person. This one's following 167, has 167 followers and is following 291 people. They're never gonna follow me back. This person's last tweet was 8 months ago. They're not even on Twitter. This last person's tweet was 9 months ago. They're not even on Twitter. And normally what I would do here is I would scan down this list. I would go, who am I actually interested in? Who do I want to like nudge and go, hey, I hope you're well, or I want to retweet their tweet or some other way to get them to engage with me. I would put those on my do not unfollow list, and then I would go down the list and click, 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 and unfollow about 70 or 80 people in under a minute. And it's very efficient and it's very helpful. The other thing that Tweepi can do for you, and that's TWEEPI.com, Tweepi.com, is it can also show me who do they recommend that I follow. And so I can look through here. I have given them a list of hashtags, and I have also given them a list of people whose work I admire. So for example, Roxane Gay. I want to follow people like the people who are following Roxane Gay and who Roxane Gay is following. And so this suggests to me, maybe you would like to follow these people. I can scroll down, I add them to my follow list, and then over on Twitter, Tweepi makes me a list that is my Tweepi follow list. And the reason it does that, instead of just following from here, is because Twitter puts you in Twitter timeout if you follow too many people at once. So I click over to my list on actual Twitter, I follow 15 or 20 people, I give it a couple hours. I follow 15 or 20 people, I give it a couple hours. And then about 10 days later, I go through and I see who hasn't followed me back. And unless there's somebody whose words I really value, I go ahead and unfollow them again. I also unfollow anybody who hasn't tweeted in 2 weeks because I figure they are not on this platform. I will connect with them in another place. Any last questions about Twitter before we move on to Instagram?
There were some questions about the paid versus free versions of Tweepi. And I think, you know, if you guys want to try this, try the free one first, and it'll quickly show you its limitations, which may not bother you one bit. It may be fine. As you can see, Allison, with a big platform on Twitter, she has figured out a way to be really strategic with her time here, so she can run through this, and it doesn't take her very long to do this. But when you're first starting and trying to get the hang of, wait, what do I really want to follow? How do I want Tweepi to suggest to me? It's going to take a little bit of time. So just start small. I think maybe starting with Allison's list offering is probably the best place to start if both of these things are new to you.
Screen share. I'll just very quickly show you that. So Tweepi has also built me a list. This is all the people who I chose to follow on Tweepi, and now I have 80 people that I can follow over on Twitter and click through. And then it's actually a manual person who followed you. And Ashley is going to show us the platform thing that you can do when you unfollow on Instagram as well.
Yes.
Ashley says she thinks agents are more active on Twitter and readers are more active on Instagram. I would agree with that. Stephanie points out there's a limit to how many you can unfollow in a day on the free version of Tweepi. There's also a limit to how many people you can look at in a row. Carrie asks, if you create a list, do the tweets show in your feed or do you need to check your list? Some of them will show in your feed, but if you really want to get it, just go ahead and zap over to your list. At the top of the phone app, there is a lists section that you can just swipe over to. All righty.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we are on my Instagram. So first off, you will see that I have a curated or slightly curated look here. Now, whether you think this is incredibly curated or just slightly will depend on your own sensitivity to Instagram aesthetic. And one of the reasons that I do this is because I interact with a lot of other accounts, a lot of writers that are similar to me, body positivity accounts, things like that. And quite often I will get some really good engagement from the original poster. And then people will visit my account. For example, one comment I made on a Liz Gilbert post, 1,600 people came to my profile that day. So when my profile is clean like this and has kind of a concise look, it's really easy for people to scroll down quickly and then go, oh, I want to hear how she edited those words. Or, you know, they can really look through quickly and kind of see what I'm about and what I write about. And when it's curated like this, I usually get more follows from people coming over than when it's a little bit less organized. So I want to show you how to use analytics first, how to read your analytics here on Instagram account. This is just within Instagram. You don't need any other apps for this. I posted this picture right before we started, and I can look here and I can look at insights, and here we have on the top, you can see how many people liked it, how many comments, how many shares. So people may have shared it to their own story or they may have sent it to a friend. Now it's kind of a gossipy post because I'm showing a before and after with my Botox. So quite often somebody will just send this to a friend. You know, it might even be someone who knows me from high school and say, oh, look at this. Or they might actually send it to a friend and say, oh, see, this is the thing I was considering. I really like to be honest with my readers when I am doing something that's a little fake. My kind of pledge to them is if I'm fake, I'm going to tell you I'm being fake. So, so here we have 22 profile visits, 400 reach, and then it shows what percentage of people were looking at this who were not my regular followers. So I just posted this a few minutes before our call started. So to have 23% new viewers already is a good percentage. And usually, yes.
Ashley, will you just zap back one more time and will you please show us how did you get to analytics? Some of us missed that.
I will. It's right here. Thanks, Allison. On the view
and tell us about creator accounts.
Yeah, it's right here on the view insights right underneath the post. So if you have a regular personal account right now, you'll want to change it to creator in order to see these insights. Now, on your main Instagram page, you can go up to the 3 lines in the top right-hand corner that I think Allison calls the hamburger, right? And then we can go down to settings. And within settings, it says account. And you click on that, and it'll show you switch to personal account, switch to business account. Now, if you have a personal account, your options here will be creator and business. Business is good if you already have something to sell. Creator is fantastic because it gives you slightly more detail in the analytics. And it doesn't, because it doesn't track things that you're selling like the business account does. So you'll be able to see for every post. This, for example, was a post I put the other day, me dermaplaning my face, which my husband thought was very silly. And I reached over 6,000 people with it. 71 profile visits, and a lot of that was from the hashtags. If you look down, almost 6,000 people found it from hashtags. So I like to use a balance of hashtags that'll get a big reach. For this one, it was just guessing. It was just guessing when I put in the hashtags what was going to give me, and you see there's a lot of comments from people like, oh, that looks scary, or oh, I've always wanted to try that. Posts where I get engagement and conversation from people definitely end up getting served up to more people who are following me and more people on the hashtag. So anything, when you're asking a question, I ask, what do you want me to show next? Me dyeing my own hair, things like that. And these are the hashtags I use, this DIY beauty. And when I put in those hashtags, I looked at how many other hashtags there were. And this was a tip from Allison that she's been sharing for a while, that I have found my sweet spot for hashtags with the size of my account with 2,000 and some followers is if a hashtag has between 30 and 60,000 uses, and it'll come right up when you're posting something. So for example, if I'm commenting here and I want to put in a hashtag, if I want to put in a hashtag here, you'll see, just for an example, that when I type in good, I see, oh, good morning has 120 million, good, 75. So I would want to look down to, and of course, this word good doesn't even have anything to do with this besides, I don't know, I'm happy with my good Botox. If I went to Good Life or something like that, you know, that's where then I would get the most traction off that hashtag. So Allison, do you think, and we need to look at more, analytics, if you go here. Yes.
Do you know, Ashley, do we have to have a certain size of following to be a creator account?
You don't. Anybody can make a creator account.
Can you walk us through one more time slow, because we don't have a mouse looking at you, and just show us exactly where you selected to turn it into a creator account?
Yes. So we go to the hamburger in the top right-hand corner. Then at the top, you're going to see settings, that little gear, and you're going to press that. And then you're going to look down for the account, and the icon is a little person's head. And you're going to press that. And then at the bottom, you're going to have choices, switch to personal account, switch to business account.
And Louise has noticed that if you're just turning it to a creator account for the first time, at the bottom it says switch to professional account, and then creator is one of the options.
Thank you, Louise. So it'll say professional first, and then it'll give you the options for creator and business. Thank you for that. So it's personal or professional, and professional will give you those two kind of streams you can go down, and you can switch back and forth. I used to have a business account before the creator option was there.
Awesome. And then that's how you'll be able to see analytics.
Yeah.
Ashley, how do you build those quotes? Do you build them in Canva, or do you use something else?
I use Wordswag for my quotes. I do all of this in Wordswag, and here's one from my youngest, Nico. I have these tiles saved in my photos, so I can just import the pink background with my name at the bottom already. And then Wordswag saves my most recent fonts so that I use the same font. If I'm going to overlay somebody else's tweet on top of my little pink tile, I do that right within Instagram stories. Now, if you go back to your own feed, it'll say edit profile, promotions, insights, and then it'll have a call to action button. For me, I have email. You might not have anything there. You may have a sign up, but you will have insights once you go to make it a creator account. So you press insights, and this will give me an overall for the last 7 days. And this, the way this is displayed just changed this morning, actually. So it'll show me how many accounts I've reached and the percent change from last week, content interactions with the percent change, total followers, and the change. Now, things I'd like to look at, if I go to content I shared and click on that, then I can take a look at all of my posts from the past year, There's a time button here that you can change. I can look from the past 3 months, and I can say, okay, I'd like to take a look at the posts ranked on how many people they reached. And when I go in here, this is quite helpful for hashtags to tell me if hashtags were effective, and then I could save those lists of hashtags. In order to save lists of hashtags, you need to go on your desktop, and then you can copy them and paste them into your notes app. You can't copy and paste right on your mobile. Now, I could also go by, all right, let's look at profile visits. So instead of reach, right up top there, I went to profile visits. And last 3 months, I had a call to action for Breonna Taylor here. I had things in my bio back in June about that. I had my first Medium article here with 97 profile visits because I didn't share very much of the article in my caption. I think I shared maybe just a few words of it. Then people were very curious about the face shaving thing, of course. So you'll see it's a mix of things in here. You can also see, you can do it by any of these things. And this will really depend on what you want. Do you want people to go to your website and sign up? Do you want people to save it? Do you want people to share it? I like to see this too, how many people saved it. And then this gives me information on what are my followers wanting to refer back to. In this Black Lives Matter post, I have a few slides with explanations. And then so that shows me, okay, people are probably looking for what can I share with somebody who I know who maybe doesn't get this, and I would like to explain it to them. So lots of different things like that. Even how many times they share it. So if we go back to my account, we could go to this recent post and hit insights, and we can, you see it's been shared 2 times. Now, if I go to the ... above that post, oh, see, nobody shared it in their story right now. They're sharing it privately. But sometimes if you go to a different post and you go here, you'll be able to view story reshares. This may be somebody who follows me or somebody who just found me off the hashtag. This person just found me off the hashtag. So earlier today, I clicked on their name up in the top left corner, and I went and sent them a message saying, thank you for sharing.
And I also want you guys to notice Ashley's name is on the quote she created. Ashley's name is on the quote she created. It's really important to put your name on your stuff because you never know what's going to blow up. Some of you might have seen the meme from some e-cards that has like the line drawing of the 50s housewife collapsed in a chair with her hands over her eyes, and it said, "I live in a house ruled by a tiny army that I made myself." That meme went really viral. It hit 2 or 3 million people. My friend Darlena created it, but she didn't put her name on it. So it's really, really important to put your name on your stuff because you never know what's going to hit big, and you want people to know it's you.
Wow.
I just want to very briefly detour into hashtags, which we talked about a lot last week, but the very best hashtags are going to be the ones with numbers between about 5,000 and about 60 or 70,000. I would not bother to use a hashtag that has more than 150,000 next to the hashtag, and Instagram shows you these numbers as you start typing in the hashtags, as you saw when Ashley was typing the word good. The hashtag's popularity, you want it to be popular enough that people you don't know are going to see your post, but not so popular that you get lost in the shuffle. If a hashtag has more than 500,000 on the number, you're not going to get seen on it because bigger, more important accounts with much larger followings are going to get seen instead. For Terry, it is hard to make your feed look like you want it to. And one of the ways to clean up your feed and make it show you more things that you like is you go to what's called the Explore page. So if you go into search, you can click on any of those things in the Explore page and you can select show me less like this. And it will help Instagram learn what you actually want to see.
And speaking of big, important accounts, I'm going to show you one quick tip for finding your readers on a big account that's a little different. So I went to the search, and this is the home page that we were talking about before. You can see I've really been interested in rings because I got a new anniversary set. I'm going to search Glennon Doyle at the top because Glennon Doyle's book, Love Warrior, was one of my comps in my query letter. And there are a lot of similarities between what she writes and what I write. So I have notifications on for Glennon's account. We have a grid. If you look right above the pictures here, we have a grid, we have an IGTV button, and then we have this, and this is on almost every account. These are pictures that other people posted and they tagged Glennon. So if we look here, this one was posted 32 minutes ago. This one, 28, this one, 1 hour. These are people who really, really like Glennon. They are probably super fans of Glennon's. So I could go here to this person's account, maybe follow them, maybe just like this post and say, I loved that book too. Or if they are posting something about themselves, like this woman is, she's telling a story that she thinks relates to stories that Glennon shares, I could go there and comment on her story in particular, and that will, in a lot of situations, lead that person back to my profile, and I may get followers out of this. And if I really like their account, I would follow them too. So if there are brands or people that you would like to follow, that people who you do follow, you can always go to their account and see that. And you have that on your own page too, people who have tagged you in photos, and you can remove a tag if someone has tagged you and you don't want it to stay there.
And you can go right to that by touching that little square that has the person in it on the right-hand side. It's below the highlights, it's above the grid.
Yes.
Make sure that the photos you're using are either your own photos or they are public domain photos, or you have the rights to use those photos. There's a lot of really good stock photos out there if you want some stuff to jazz up your Instagram a little bit.
I'm going to take us into one quick thing with this followers app. Here is the followers app, which I just have been using for the last couple weeks to give you guys some information on this. This is a good thing to look at if you want to take a look at your ratio. So here it says 112 are not following me back. So I can click on that and it will show me the people I am following who are not following me back. And I can take a look and think and decide, all right, some of these are editors, some of these are writers that I really like. Some of these are, accounts that I am going to follow and support or engage with regardless of whether they're following me back or not. So then you can
there's about 5 or 6 apps that are all called followers. Ashley uses one, I use 2 other ones, and one of the things that we'll do is in the follow-up email that's going to come to you with the link to the recording, we will give you the links to the 3 that we use that we know to be reasonably okay. But basically, try a followers app, and if it sucks, delete it and try another one.
And I would say, so there are places here that you can get followers and get likes. I would not suggest doing that. I would not suggest doing that.
Monitor your own followers.
Just you do it, yes. Do not try to earn coins. Do not try to earn yourself likes and follows. Those are not people who are actually going to be engaged with you. This is just for this information. I don't really love seeing who unfollows me because, for example, one of my cousins, cousins through marriage unfollowed me. It hurts my feelings, but most of the time it's bot accounts or people who just followed me for the follow back. So I think I may delete this from my phone now that I've showed it to you guys, but it is something to have just if you want to look at that ratio and just kind of clean up things.
We're going to take 5 minutes and we're going to put you guys into a set of breakout rooms where you will be able to just talk briefly to each other. We will put you in there for about 6 minutes. Just say hi, get each other's socials, and meet each other as human beings.
Hi. there was nobody in my breakout room, so I left.
Oh, weird. Well,
Yeah.
be in our room with us.
Hi.
Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for all this great information. I feel completely overwhelmed, but excited. And I still don't understand how I can access your list, Allison. I think a lot of people were
We're going to give specific instructions in the follow-up email.
Love it. Okay, that was my question.
Actually, that's something that we might want to mention. We covered a whole bunch of technical stuff in this one. And I think we want to mention to people, like, listen to the video one more time when you get the recording, and we'll also give specific instructions about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, because each of those things we talked about are really, really powerful tools. We wanted to show about more than one platform, but it is a lot to take a look at, like, where do I start with it? You know, we really wanted in these first couple sessions to give an overview of each platform, but then we'll go deeper into taking great photos for Instagram, creating memes and text type images to post there, really diving into Twitter, really what you can do with Facebook. Like here, we're talking a lot about social media, but also publishing hot essays that relate to what you're writing, all of those parts of the platform, networking with agents and editors, because it really is multifaceted.
No, thank you so much. I feel really excited and motivated. I hope it lasts.
That's what we're hoping for. Like, I mean,
yeah.
I'm in my 40s, and so much of this feels like stuff that 13-year-olds are doing. And it's been hard to navigate my way through to what do grown-up writers do online, and how do grown-up writers meet grown-up readers and other grown-up writers.
Yeah, I'm more grown up than you, so this is, I feel even more hampered, I guess. Yeah, and I don't have any children in my life to show me how to do this, so.
Yeah.
I really hoped that I really wished that I knew somebody who knew how to use TikTok. And I was like, okay, I can't do anything on TikTok because I don't know. And then I find out my 2 oldest children have secret TikTok accounts. So
all right.
I was like,
are they going to be leading the next seminar?
Yeah.
While we were in breakout rooms, Kristen brought up a really great point, which is that there is a ton of information that we have given you guys tonight. Like, I think even more than last week in terms of specifics. So we want to make a promise to you, which is that in your follow-up email, we are going to provide you with some instructions. We will link you to these apps that we suggest and recommend, and we'll be taking your questions and everything under consideration for the next one. I just very briefly want to address the main Facebook question, which is, do I need an author page? And the answer is yes, but it's not going to do you any good for a good long time. Author pages, Facebook doesn't show people pages unless you pay to advertise them. However, your author page is going to be useful for you later. It's going to be useful for you when you publish. It's going to be useful for you when you are soliciting an agent. And so the thing to do with your author page is once every week, find a helpful blog or a significant article that's about writing or about your topic, and share it to your author page with a comment about what you think about it and a quote from the article, and then engage with any comments. There won't be very many comments. There won't be very many likes. And we're going to talk later about multi-purposing content across your platforms and how to make some of that happen automatically, because there's another tool. There's so many tools. But the short answer is go ahead and make your Facebook author page, but mostly interact with your personal profile on Facebook. And we'll do a whole deep dive into Facebook as well, but Ashley's got a quick tip for us on how to build your Facebook following.
I share a lot of things on Facebook that relate to my writing and my family, because it's all interwoven. And what I started a year ago was just taking a close look at the suggested friends that Facebook has for me, because Facebook's really creepy. They do know who you probably know. So I started friend requesting people, and I have more than doubled my friends on Facebook just by friend requesting people I already know from work or from my hometown, or spouses of my cousins, things like that. And I try to interact with people I'm friends with a lot on Facebook, so then they see my stuff. But that's just a way, if you do want to broaden your reach, that Facebook makes it easy for you to do it that way.
Yeah. And honestly, Facebook groups are the best place to meet other writers, and we'll do a deep dive into Facebook. This is an every other Tuesday meeting. If you are on the list, you don't have to sign up again. You will be automatically notified by us of the next meeting. We'll send you the Zoom link, and it will happen again Tuesday at the same time in your time zone, 9 p.m. Dubai time. We will answer as many more questions from the chat as we can. We will send you links to a lot of this stuff, and we highly recommend that you listen to this video one more time with your phone in your hand, where you can stop and start and pause and find stuff. Ashley, any closing words before I unmute everybody for a nice raucous goodbye?
I would like to just say, with this being overwhelming, you don't need to use all of this. I'm not going to download Tweepi because Twitter is not my main place. So I look at my Instagram analytics. I'm going to take a closer look at those and see what's been performing well over the last couple weeks as I decide what I'm going to post this next week or two before our next session. So remember, you only have to do one thing. And if you do one thing and do it better than you're doing right now, you're going to start seeing a bump in engagement. Even if the only thing you do is you go to that tag column on accounts that you like, even if the only thing you do is follow 3 comp accounts and start looking at what they post and how people interact with them. That's it. That is really an improvement in stepping up your social media game.
So guys, I'm going to unmute everybody so that we can all say goodbye. And you guys are fabulous. So magic mirror time. Here comes the magic mirror.
Thank you. Thank you. That was tremendous.
You're awesome.
Hey,
Thank you so
nice
much.
to see your cat,
You're the
Amy. Hey, Casey.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Linda.
Candace. Candace, it's so nice to see you here.
Nice to see you too. Bye.
Hi, Yolanda. Yolande. Thank you. I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to next time.
Great.
Thanks
Thank
for
you for
being here.
coming.
It's the Queen Wave.
The new little elevator pitch today.
One of these buttons is power. That's the power button. Yay, look at me. Now I'm attractive. God bless the ring light.
Right? It's math.